Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ethan Brown from Mind Body Physio, Doctor of Physical Therapy, Certified Orthopedic Manual Therapist. I wanted to come on today and talk a little bit about nerve glides and lateral epicondylitis. I really think there's two main groups for lateral epicondylitis. I think if you're getting it in your 20s and 30s, and again, I am certainly generalizing here, but if you're getting it in your 20s and 30s and it's very much activity related, like from workouts or things like that, it's probably more of your true lateral epicondylitis, lateral epicondylalgia, where you're getting inflammation or tendinitis, tendinosis of the extensor wad in the forearm, okay? ECRB, ECRL, extensor carpi radialis brevis and longus are often the two most common ones. And then extensor digitorum certainly plays a part in that as well. Could be, keyboarding, could be posture related to kind of feed into that tendon dysfunction. But that's sort of group A. Group B, from what I see clinically, if we're in 40s and 50s and it becomes more of a chronic issue, and typically I truly think this is a cervical spine issue with symptom expression in the forearm. So what I think is happening, and this happens all over the body, not just with forearms and not just with lateral epicondylitis and related to cervical pain, but what I think is happening is we get dysfunction in the mid-lower cervical spine. Okay, our most common sites of degeneration in the cervical spine are C5-6 and C6-7. If we think about the nerve roots that exit out of those areas as they're coming down the spine, if we look in between C5-6, that's our C6 nerve root, probably the most common site of degeneration in the neck. What is the C6 nerve root? Branches into what would become the radial nerve. It also supplies lateral sensory and dermatome for the back of the forearm. Radial nerve comes down through there. So I personally think that the nervous system is getting irritated at the neck, which is causing guarding or increased muscle activity, resting tone in areas of the posterior forearm. And then all that takes then is a little bit of activity to spark a fire back here in the forearm, right? It's like when you have a dead pine tree in the woods. That's not a fire until you have a spark. This whole situation is just kind of waiting to come out. And again, this is not the problem. This is a symptom of the problem. But it's extremely difficult to get rid of then when we're not working on the cervical spine. We need to reduce where the signal is coming from for these muscles to be staying guarded, staying tight, and basically any stress that is being put onto our forearms, even if it's equal. If it's my right arm, this side's getting 2x the stress of this side because these muscles were wound up to begin with. They were already on guard, and then any activity, any exercise we do brings that symptom expression to the surface. So I really find it more helpful to start treating group B at the cervical spine when it's quickly been identified that it's not going to respond to normal lateral epicondylitis treatments. One of the things you can start doing for this type of an issue, when we treat group A and it is more of a true muscle tendon issue, we want to stretch it, right? We want to stretch out the extensor group. We want to reduce tightness into the muscle that's leading to increased tendon tension at the insertion point or attachment point here. But with group B, we want to work on gliding the radial nerve. We don't want to stretch it, okay? So with nerves don't like to be put on tension and held there. They like to be flossed in and out of tension. I use the analogy, if you're trying to pull a post hole up out of the ground, we don't pull and hold, we wiggle it, okay? We're trying to free that nerve from any adhesions throughout the tract once we have worked on the cervical spine. So a really good, easy way to do this is just an active radial nerve glide. I'm going to show you guys from the front and from the back real quick. But if I'm standing here, and again, if I'm working on my right arm, I'm going to make a fist. Sometimes I will tuck the thumb. It kind of depends on the person's symptom expression, but just make a fist, straighten the arm out, tuck the fist back behind you, so go through wrist flexion, but the fist is turned away from me. Then we're going to drop the shoulder towards the floor, and we're gently going to bring the arm out to our side. For a lot of people, this is gonna feel really familiar. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that feels like the pain I have in my forearm. Well, that's actually a nerve. This is not a muscle. If it starts here and it's fine, and you bring it out here and you get tension in your forearm, that's nervous tissue. That is not muscle tissue. So it's really cool to start kind of seeing some of this add up. For this exercise, I like 15 to 20 slow repetitions. Now you can see I'm just moving from my forearm. If I want to do a true flossing mechanism, what I would do is side bend my head towards my forearm as I feel that tension start to develop. So I'm lengthening the nerve from below, I'm slackening the nerve from above, and that creates sort of that, wiggle through the nerve throughout the chain here. So what this would look like from the back, again, I've got my hand, I'm gonna close the fist, I'm gonna extend, or actually flex the fist back towards the camera, I'm gonna drop the shoulder, and I'm just doing that. And you gotta do a good job at holding that wrist flexion, okay? If you're losing that, then we're losing the hold from the bottom. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. That's just my favorite, 15 to 20 repetitions, up to 3 to 4 times a day, okay? Because we're really trying, again, to just wiggle the nerve. You're not gonna overdo it. You're stretching the muscles a little bit, but the main effect here is manifesting in the nervous tissue. So this is a great way to start tackling this problem, but if you feel like you might fall into group B, you need to get yourself to a physio that knows what they're doing, because I've talked with very few people that are making this connection on a regular basis, and I've finally been able to prove it through MRI studies with my patients who are having this issue, and we're finally getting MRI studies of their neck, and it is turning out to be a cervical dysfunction. So this is something that I think is relatively new, will probably be a lot more common ground in 4 or 5 more years. But again, I think all over the body we get these symptom expressions of a problem, but where we get the symptom expression is not necessarily where the problem is truly coming from. So it's important to be able to identify that difference and then get yourself into somebody that knows how to look at the expression and identify and treat the root cause problem for that expression. So hope this was helpful, guys. Try that exercise out. Let us know what you think, and enjoy. Till next time.